Hello, in today's video we're going to be still talking about how to divide our code into different modules, but today we're going to be talking about methods that return a value. More specifically, we're going to be talking about how methods could return an integer value, a Boolean value, or a string value. We go back to our Jackpot application code, and this time we're going to try to divide the code within the score user method into several methods. So let's see what we do within this same method. In here, the first thing that we do is we create a number out of our labels. So let's go back and look at that. Here we create 3 different digits, so we get these digits together to create a number. So let's start it and look, just to refresh our memory on what we do here. So we do randomly create each of these 3 different digits, and then we combine them together to create one number. So let's go back to our code. Right here, we have 3 different labels, each one containing a random digit. Now we get them all together to create an integer, and that is our final number that we use to decide whether the user wins or loses. So the first thing that we do, the first action that we do, is to create this number based on the 3 different labels that we have. Next, we apply a winning rule. In here, our winning rule is very simple. If the number is greater than 600, then the user wins, otherwise the user loses. This rule could be a lot more complex, so we can have a method that simply applies our winning rule, whatever that is. And then the last step that we do, or the last action within this method, is to create a result message. So we need to create a message that will be displayed to the user, showing whether the user wins or loses. So let's try to create 3 different methods to divide this method into smaller pieces. So again, our first method will be the CreateNumber method. And in here, we're going to be using these 2 statements. Now, note here that the final number is not recognized by this method. That is because we do not declare or use the final number variable anywhere within this method. So we need to still define this variable, that way we can reuse it within our method. So this is our final number. We declare it right here. We could also initialize it to 0 if we want to. Now, however, this variable now, final number, does not include our number that we have created on the screen using our labels. Well, that is the purpose of this method. In this method, we need to create this number, and then we need to give it back or send it back to this method. Now, the way to do that is to have our method return a value. And this specific method needs to return an integer value. And that would be our final number. All right, now how do we do that? Well, in here, we need to add in a return statement. And our return statement simply returns this variable that we have calculated here within the method. So within the method, we do create our final number. Then we need to return it to whatever method is calling the CreateNumber method. So let's go back and call this method right here from the score user function. But this time, we need to update this final number. So we're going to set the final number to equal the CreateNumber method. And what this would do is it will take this variable that has been returned from this method and assign it to this value right here, or to this variable right here. And we could also change the name of this variable. These 2 names don't have to match. So in here, we can call our variable final number. And within this method, we just call it final num. So again, let's go back and see what we did. We created a variable final number, and instead of creating this number from within this method, from within the score user method, we simply call a different method to do all that work for us. So it will execute all of these statements. It will create this final number for us. It will calculate it for us, and then it will return it for us to this method right here. And then whatever this CreateNumber method returns will be stored in our final number. So now let's test our code and see if it's still working properly. All right, and it is. So now we have just created our first value returning method. So this method returns an integer value, and this is how we use, or we call this method. We need to assign that value to a number that we create from within our calling method. Now the next method that we're going to create is going to be to the ApplyWinningRule method. So we're going to be creating a new method called ApplyWinningRule. And what this method would do is to simply apply any rule, any business rule, to let us know whether that user wins or loses. And in here, it is very simple, and all it does is to take this final number and checks whether this number is greater than 600 or less than 600. So now what we need to do is we need to return a value from this method. So here we're not going to have this code anymore, because this code now is going to be moved to our ApplyWinningRule method. But within this ApplyWinningRule method, we need to somehow decide whether the user wins or loses. So in here we can have a Boolean variable that we call wins, for example, or winner. So if the final number is greater than 600, then we're going to set winner to true. Else, so if that final number is less than 600, then the winner is false. That means that the user did not win. All right, so this method right here is doing the job correctly, except that now our final number is not recognized by this method. What we can do, the way we can solve this issue, is to declare this final number variable at the class level. So we can make it a field, that way all methods would have access to it. And that would resolve our problem. Now the final number could be used in any of these methods that we have right here. And we need to initialize our winner variable. All right, now we're all set. Now let's see what we're doing here. We are creating a variable, and this is a Boolean variable. This variable either holds a true or false value. In here we set this value to be initialized to false. That means that initially we have no winners. Now if the final number that we have created previously is greater than 600, then we have a winner. So our variable winner is set to true. Else our winner variable is set to false. So that is fine. However, now we need to call this method right here from our score user method. So we do create a variable, and we'll just call it flag for now. And then we set our flag variable to be equal to whatever this ApplyWinningRule method returns. All right. Now, remember that when we use the void keyword, that means that our method does not return anything. Well, in this specific case, we want our method to return a bool variable. We need to return this flag. We need to know whether we have a winner or not. So we still need to add in a statement, and that statement would return the value of the winner variable. All right, so now let's see what we have. We called our ApplyWinningRule method, and this method just uses any business rule. It could be anything more complicated than this, but for now it just uses a simple business rule to decide whether we have a winner or not. And then it returns that value that we store inside our variable flag. So our variable flag either holds a value of true or false. Now we can use this value in our if statement right here. So we could say if flag is true, then we have a winner. We display the winning message, otherwise we display the losing message. So let's go back and try our code and see if it still works properly. And surely enough, it's still working. So let's just go back and review what we have done so far. We have created a number, so we have written a method to create the number using the labels that we have on our screen, and we returned the integer variable. That integer variable will be stored in our final number variable. And remember that our final number is a field right here that we have declared so that all the methods have access to it. It's visible across all methods within the same class. Then we created another method, and this method returns a Boolean variable that is true or false based on a specific business rule. The last method that we're going to be creating is a method that creates a message. That is our results message. So instead of creating this message right here, we're going to be creating it within a different method. So we will create a new method, and this time we'll call it CreateResultsMessage. So within this method, we're going to have an if statement. And we're going to be creating a results message. And it is very simple to understand that our message will be different depending on the value of our flag variable. Now note, however, that we still have the same issue. Our flag variable now is not visible to this method, so we're going to go back and make it a field. We'll set it to false initially. Now we don't need to declare this flag variable in here, and now we can use it across methods. So we can be using this flag variable within the create result message. So if our flag is true, that means we have a winner. Our message needs to be something like you win, or you just anything that says that the user is winning. So what we will do is to create a string called result string. We'll initialize it to the empty string, and now our result string will include a message. Let's just change our message a little bit. You are the winner. All right. Now, in case our flag variable holds the false value, well, we don't have a winner, so we'll just say you lose. All right. Now, we want to call our create results message here. However, we need to know what this method is returning. So we need to know somehow what is that message that we have created within this method. So this time, instead of having a void method, we're going to have a string returning method. So we want to return this string message that we have created. So we will add in a return statement, and this time we will be returning our result str. Okay, now in here within this method we need to create a string. We'll call it result string, and that result string will hold whatever message was created from within this function. And because we did or we checked for this condition from within our create results message, we don't need to check again. So in here our code will be very simple. We will just create a message box, and our message box we will display our result string, whatever that string is. So we don't need this entire code right here. So let's see what we just did. We created a new string, and this string holds whatever string message is created from within the CreateResultsMessage method, and then whatever that string is, we will display on our message box. And within our CreateResultsMessage method, we check whether our flag is true or false, and then we create our result message based on that value of our flag, and then we return the result string that we have just created. Now let's test it. You lose. We lose again, and then you are the winner. So we did change our message, and our method is now working properly. So let's go back and see what we did. Now our score function is much smaller. It's much easier to read. We know exactly what steps we are following within this method. So first we create a number. So that is our CreateNumber method that returns an integer. So that is our final number. And then what we do is to apply a winning rule. So whatever that winning rule is, and then we return a Boolean variable that is either true or false that decides whether our user is a winner or a loser. And then afterwards we create our result message that lets the user know whether they won or lost. And then we display our results through a message box. So we have created 3 different methods. Each one is returning a different type of variable. So instead of having a void method which does not return anything, now we have created 3 different methods, each returning a different type of variable. Our first method is returning an integer. Our second method is returning a Boolean variable, which is true or false. And our last method is returning a string variable, which is either you are a winner or you lose. And that concludes our video for today. I hope it has been helpful, and see you next time.